Welcome back, guys, to a session of X-Plane. X-Plane 12. Here we are in MMQT. That is Mike Quebec Tango. It is going to be a center of Mexico airport, kind of in the middle of a desert, which is what we were after. So here we go with a pre-flight startup. Let's go for the whole thing. Before starting engine, we want to walk around. So let's say the walk around is complete. Seat belts are adjusted. Fuel selector valve, that is on both. That is a check. Circuit breakers are all in. Nothing sticking out, nothing lights up, nothing is out of place. Circuit breakers are a check. Avionics and radios are off. Brakes are set. Now for starting the engine, we want mixture rich. We want to prime the gas. Primer, let's go 3 times. It's 3 times for a set of 172. Was that 3? Let's go one more. So that's 3 and 1/4, somewhere around there for 1,000 RPM when we do the startup, when we do ignition. Alright, so primer 3 1/4, check. Throttle open at 1/4, check. Master on. Beacon on, and now we yell clear. Let's see if we hit that 1,000 RPM mark. Almost. Might still be rising, let's give it time. Alright. Starter is engaged. Power at 1,000 RPM. Oil pressure at this RPM is check. It's green. Avionics and radios on, and they automatically set to their frequencies. Let's get that on standby. Usually you would just turn this knob clockwise, this knob clockwise, and then set your frequencies. We're going to take off 09er. And let's go around the whole thing and re-land on 09er. So let's just leave everything there. Before we forget, let's adjust this. Looks like we're at 148. Just under there. Avionics and radios are on and on frequency. That is a check. We want lights. Landing. Taxi. Navigation. Lights are check. Doors and windows are closed. Brakes are set. Mixture rich. Power 1,700 RPM. Right around there. So at 1,700 RPM, we adjust the mixture, so we pull and pull until it no longer rises. Until the RPMs no longer rise. Looks like it's around there. What the hell happened there? Smack it all in. Alright, pull. That's strange. Okay, let's leave it all in. We're at 1,700 RPM. Now let's slightly pull. Does it have to do with the weather? This thing is not rising. Still not lowering or rising. Alright, looks like it's right around there. The highest we got was right in the center. Looks like that's as far as it goes. And for this ambient or weather, looks like we're going to have to pull a little extra. Usually it's slightly less. Alright, so mixture is adjusted. Now we do a magneto check. Check for the deviations. Make sure it's no more than 100 RPM. Left magneto deviates no more than 100. That is a check. Return to both. Let it recover. Smack the right rudder. The right magneto. That is such a habit with a prop plane. Right rudder. Right rudder. Right, deviation no more than 100. All right. We return to both. It recovers. Now with these RPMs, we check oil pressure, oil temp. Our instruments, vacuum between 4 and 6, or section, and perimeter charging. Looks like instruments are green, instruments are go. Now we reduce 1,000, reducing to 1,000 RPM. And that is a check, and this is where we would obtain traffic clearance or taxi clearance. So this airport is named Querétaro International. We would say something like Querétaro International. This is November 172 Sierra Papa, but in this case we set it to Alpha Delta. Let's see if we can find that. Alpha Delta, where are you? There it is. X-Ray Bravo. Querétaro International, this is X-Ray Bravo, Alpha Delta Hotel. We wait for a reply. This is, they would reply, Alpha Delta Hotel, go ahead. And we would reply with the X-Ray Bravo now. Alpha Delta Hotel, this is a Cessna 172 in hangars for local flight returning today. Request VFR taxi to 270, 20 miles, 8,500. If we checked out the broadcast for ATIS, we would probably report information XYZ. Information Foxtrot, information whatever it is. Wait for a reply, wait for a taxi, and in this case we would get something like Taxi Golf, something, so we would reply Taxi Golf Alpha, maintain Alpha, hold short of runway 09er, Alpha Delta Hotel. So let's go navigate. Usually we would do our control surface check, so let's check that out real quick. Let's do a linear spot. Let's do control surfaces. So let's see, 1, 2, elevators are go. 3 and 4th, you can see the rudder moving, rudder's good. So we got pitch, we got yaw. Let's go 5 and 6. We have roll. 7th is going to be brakes. So we're set. Where we go? We got clearance. Let's do it. Let's make a little left rudder actually. We don't want to hit this plane. There we are. Right looks clear. We follow this line. With this weather, we probably don't need to get close to 1300 RPM, which is our max for taxiing. We just want to smack some 1200 RPM and then reduce it to 1000 since we have enough momentum. This airport is very flat, as it should be. Hey, that one has a parachute on an airplane like that. Fail-safes, plan Bs, and plan Cs. I'm going a little fast, let's reduce it to exactly 1000 RPM. Smack the brakes a little bit along the way. We have a lot of space here, we could probably do our surface control checks here. Alright, so to taxi here, we want a y-axis, an x-axis, and then a y-axis before reaching the ramp. So this is going to be the y-axis, this is going to be Gulf. Those signs there, black is where you are, yellow is where you're heading. So let's see what black says. Let's just ignore the traffic, this shit's annoying. I doubt a desert airport is this busy. Ignoring the airport, I mean the traffic. Let's see. Black says Gulf. And we are headed to ramp in yellow. Left is clear by the time that thing gets here. Let's run this guy over. He's not moving. No collisions anywhere. We are on Gulf. We have another sign coming up. Black is where we are, yellow is where we're heading. Looks like we are heading Alpha. Arrows point straight. On this sign, Alpha left, right. So all of this is Alpha. This is going to be X-axis. leaving y-axis, which is Gulf. Entering Alpha. Smacking the brakes, since it's assigned to a button, don't really get sensitivity to it. Left the sensitivity to the triggers, and they are assigned to rudders. Black is where we are, yellow is where we're heading. So we are on Alpha. To our left is Hotel. So let's continue Alpha. Our x-axis, our y-axis is going to be another Alpha. Instructions should read Taxi Golf Alpha Alpha, but I've heard it from this software. It just says Golf Alpha, maintain Alpha. Instructions would be much clearer if it was Golf Alpha Alpha. That we have YXY axis. Black is where we are, and we are heading to Alpha. This is the very end, so it should point left is Alpha. Slow down a little bit, and there it is. Left is Alpha. Let's not forget our landing and taxi this time. We gotta switch those off at 300 feet in the air. So here we are at 6,300 above sea level, just at the airport, just on the ground. So we're chasing 6,600 to go flaps up and lights off. Alright, in this case, bright red where you're heading. You are on Alpha. In front of you is runway 09. So if we are chasing a 270 radial, this is where we would get this going. Ideally you do it beforehand during your surface control checks. Alright, let's pop this window. And make contact with the tower, so we would reply Alpha Delta Hotel on Alpha, holding short of runway 09er, ready for departure. They give us some instructions, and what we reply might sound something like runway 09er right, heading 100, replying at 2.5 miles Alpha Delta Hotel, cleared for takeoff. And then you don't take much time here. Ideally you say cleared for takeoff, then your license. So cleared for takeoff, Alpha Delta Hotel. Let's get that center of runway. Start lighting up. Let's get 1 point of flaps. Once we're full throttle, let's glance at the instruments, make sure everything is green. Remember that it has a left-leaning tendency, so smack that right rudder a little bit. Alright, center of runway, center of runway. Alright, full throttle. Max power. Max power. So we have instruments green. Pressure, temperature for oil is go. Vacuum between 4 and 6. And perimeter is charging. And we have airspeed live. We're chasing for 65 knots. Our trim has been neutral, we're good. That is very important, trim is neutral. Alright, center of runway, we're at around 65 for a positive ascension at 500 feet. And let's let go of the right rudder since we want center of runway. Let's trim up a little bit. There it is, 500 feet of ascension. Center of runway, we went underneath us so we don't want to see it. We are 6,400 and rising. Once those two hands meet, we want flaps up and lights off, and we want to compensate the pitch for when the flaps go up. Alright, we're at 6,600 in the air, so that's 300 above ground. Let's go flaps up. Let's pull the yoke a little bit so this thing doesn't pitch down. Let's get the lights, landing, and taxi. Let's turn the yoke on for a visual. And we want it right, so we're heading 100. And we're reporting at 2.5. We would not report our height, or our altitude, I mean, or our heading. We would just report 2.5 out. And resuming our course. We give ourselves some broken weather, make it a little bit of a challenge, make it interesting, and then we get hit by lightning. I don't know if that's possible in this simulation. Let me double check my lights. Yeah, landing there. Switched off, it seems. It's good to be able to spot. Alright. Alpha Delta Hotel. 2.5 miles out. Resuming course. So on our first VOR, we set 270, aka west. We want to fly a little to the right of west, it seems, to be able to establish that radial and fly in the opposite direction of which we took off. That way we can find the runway 09 again and re-land where we took off. We wanted a maximum of 8,500 feet according to our flight plan, and a maximum of 20 miles out. Almost looks like a runway right there. In emergency situations, I will not land in those. There's so many posts and traffic. Let's fly parallel. We can't fly over the airport. We're going to have to cross the airport first, then fly right of Whiskey. Ascension at 500. You don't have to combat the plane so much by compensating with trim. In this case, wheel goes up, pitch goes down. As it should be in all cases, actually, in all planes. Not just this case. We want a visual reference. We want that horizon in our sight. Right above the dashboard in this case. In this case, it is in this case. Let's see, we're 8,100. We want 400 more feet for 8,005. Let's keep our heading close to 270. Once we cross the airport, we start paying attention to the VOR, because the closer we are to the airport, the more inaccurate that VOR is. That CDI just goes all over the place. VOR being this thing, CDI being that little line in the middle. It's a course deviation indicator. Alright. Across the airport, across the station, across the halfway point. Looks like we can go a little to the right of the runway. I mean, a little to the right of Whiskey, our heading. Alright. Across the airport entirely. Let's head a little to the right. So our heading is now 280. Our goal is 270, but CDI says fly to the right in order to reach Whiskey. Fly to the right in order to reach destination. Alright, we're at 8,500. Let's reduce RPM to cruising speed, cruising power, which is going to be 2,300. If you're in an older model, you might want 2,350. Let's trim down in order for the nose to rise. Let's keep that 8,500 and that VSI, our vertical speed right there, vertical speed indicator at 0. And just compensate for where we are on this 5 on altitude. We're on 8,000 right there. Shorthand is 1,000, longhand is hundreds. So I'm going to pitch up just a little. We don't have to use throttle for pitch so much if it's only like 100 feet in deviation. We just go slightly above 0 with our pitch. Right around there. Here we are. And we do want to go a little to the right. Let's chase 300. 300 heading for that CDI to start moving. Looks like we want to trim down a lot. We almost deviated 100 feet. Pitch down, pitch neutral. Start using those visual references. Top of this compass, slightly above the mountain range. Alright, CDI live, let's not miss our radial. Let's head 270, slowly. A little faster. You don't want to miss it. Stick flying a little to the right. We want CDI to center a little more. Get right in the middle. So let's fly 270 something. Before establishing 270. Let's ascend. Ascend a little further. Let's fly 27 something. Let's go 275. Not established just yet. And a few seconds more this way. Keep paying attention to your altitude. Paying attention to your visual reference. You're only glancing at your instruments. Looks like somewhere around here you want to start turning to 270. Let's head on over. Right around there. And we are established 270. That is our radial. That's where we are. That is an imaginary highway, basically. And the highways have verticality, so there could be another route right underneath or above us. A commercial airliner, for example, might be using the same radial to establish a landing into the airport, but they're going to fly way above. Establish on 270, aka Whiskey, aka West. We took off east, we are now heading west. We are 9.5 miles out. So if ATC calls us, asks us, where are you guys at? Report position. We would reply, 8,500, radial 270, 10 miles outbound, Alpha Delta Hotel. So our flight plan was a max of 20 miles. Looks like we would reach outside of the range of the radios for the ATC. They might tell us to establish another frequency to be able to contact the closest airport in our direction. So let's say we change our minds. Now we want to head back. We want to do initial contact. This is X-Ray Bravo, Alpha Delta Hotel requesting approach. MQT runway 0 It'll be to our right. 0 right. Well, let's actually do a 180. Let's see where the airport would be. Pitch down, don't descend too much. There it is, coordinated turn. Alright, pitch up, don't descend anymore. Right in front of us, that airport. So, X-Ray Bravo, Alpha Delta Hotel, requesting approach, runway 0 right. So we would turn to the left, and it would be to the right of us. Well, we descended a lot. Gotta use those visual references a lot more. Let's not ascend more than 1,000 feet. Otherwise we're risking a stall, but luckily we have headwind. We're gonna get a lot of lift. It's important to know how your plane's gonna be affected. When we fly into the wind, we get a lot of lift. Let me see my throttle here. Just under 2003. At 2003. There it is, 2,300. We are in cruising speed. We're going to have to fight the pitch. So let's trim up a little bit. And we want to start descending maybe around 6 miles. We want to enter slow flight eventually. Let's keep our visual reference, a little compass above that mountain range. This compass here. Let's put it at the mountain range to descend slightly to reach our 8,500 goal. Alright. Let's say ATC asked for position. We are 8,500, radial 270, 8 miles inbound, Alpha Delta Hotel. Now it's important here to report the same radial. We may have turned, runway in sight, we may have turned 180 degrees, but that highway, all we did was change directions on the same highway. So imagine a 2-lane highway in each direction, so a total of 4 roads. 2 roads head one way, and then the opposite direction are another 2 roads, just like any highway for any car. You can have 2 directions. One where you're heading, and then there's the opposite direction. So we are on the same highway. Let's say it's called 101, the Highway 101 for cars. You're heading north on Highway 101, and there's a lot of traffic. In the other direction, south of Highway 101, there is 0 traffic. This is a good way to start visualizing that you're still on the same radial. You only switched your direction. Let's start doing slow flight. So 2,000 RPM. Let's chase that wide arc. Wide arc on the airspeed right here on the knots. Alright, there's white. We were on green, now we're on white, so we can do 1 point of flaps and compensate with a pitch down so the plane doesn't rise anymore. Let's start trimming up a little bit. And let's chase for 2 and 2 pappies. 2 red, 2 white. Hope that example makes sense. On Highway 101. You switch directions. You're on the opposite side and now heading south. You are still on the same highway. You are still on 101. Start reducing the speed below the 2000 RPM mark. So if we're too high, let's just go ahead and pull the throttle out. That used to scare me on my first flight. Pull the throttle, what do you mean? We need a little bit of power. Start lining up a little bit. But without engines, without power, this thing just turns into a glider. The aerodynamic shape good enough to still be able to maneuver. Let's trim up to not fight this plane so much. It keeps trying to fly up a little bit. I'm going to start using those rudders. Even with the left-leaning tendency, this much wind is going to affect us. Kind of throw us around a little bit. Since it's a headwind, it can be a little unpredictable. Okay, we see some red. That's good. Let's put in some power. Let's not descend too much. I think that might be 2 and 2. Too far away to tell. Let's keep this descent approach. Descent angle. Reduce a little bit of power. Keep descending. Descending at 500. That is perfect. Our ascension and descension, we want to target 500 and no more than 1000. Let's make a little bit of power in. Since we're going to cross that umbral, let's see where our trim is. Slightly above, since we were fighting with so much headwind. A little more trim up, so that nose comes down. We have a good descent angle since we're at 2 and 2 pappies. Not too high, not too low. Our airspeed is on white, which is good. Let's remove the throttle a little bit. We got 3 pappies. That's saying a little too high. There we go. Now you don't want to roll anymore. You want to start using your rudders. Little left rudder. Start reducing the throttle. Let's pull it out. Yeah, let's flare. Just a little bit while smacking the left rudder. There we are. Kill the power, flaps up. Let's get that center of runway. There we are. It is difficult with this much wind. So let's let it roll a little further. Since we don't want to introduce brakes so quickly, especially with this much wind, we could deviate a lot from the center. I think I saw the prop slowing down, so we can probably start introducing brakes. But let's not risk it. We have all this runway, we can use all this runway. That is a touchdown. We can probably just go full brakes at this point. Airspeed is almost marking 0. Okay, let's recover 1000 RPM to start taxiing. We can probably do a little less than 1000. Let's see where we're going to taxi out of. Usually you don't want to take up this much time, but with this kind of wind, you're probably good. ATC would understand this much wind. Don't risk it. Just let it roll. see where we're exiting. Black is where we are, and yellow is where we're heading. And this is what we would report to the ATC upon landing. You know what we forgot? Landing and taxi again. Damn it. Landing lights and taxi lights. Alright, let's go 1000 RPM. Let's see what black says and what yellow says. So we reply to ATC Alpha Delta Hotel, taxiing Delta Alpha Golf to hangars. Alpha Delta Hotel. So black is where we are. This is Delta. Our y-axis, our x-axis is going to be Alpha. And from Alpha, we're going to connect to our y-axis, which is Golf, back to the hangars. Black is where we are, yellow is where we're heading. So this should say Alpha. And up ahead we're going to run into Echo. We want yellow to say Golf. Now we have tailwind, so we might want to slow down a little bit. So it's going to push us, make us speed up a little. Looks like that's tower right above those colorful planes. Colorful rudders there. Or tails. Look like birds. Learned aviation in Spanish. What would empenaje be? What's the formal term for the tail? I learned it in Spanish since it's a hell of a lot cheaper in developing countries. The only challenge is the language itself. You go to a third world country, aviation is going to be a lot more affordable with US dollar. Oh shit, we got wind. Looks like this is going to be Foxtrot, according to the signs we just passed. A lot of turbulent air. Let's go 900, not 1000, especially since we have tailwind. This would be Foxtrot. Looks like the commercial airliners use this to taxi. Those are the fat boys. Kind of look like tropical birds. Right, we have Golf coming up. Black where we are, yellow where we're heading. So Golf is going to be to the right. And those were our instructions to ATC. We exited Delta. We're taxiing Delta Alpha Golf. YXY. And what I mean by that is the axes. On a 2D surface, like on a grid, X is left, right, Y is up, down. You don't have the other dimensionality. You don't have Z axis. Not on the ground. You're visualizing a 2D surface like graph paper. And that way you have 2 dimensions. Left, right, up, down. Yellow's where we're heading, so that is Golf. We are following our instructions, exiting Delta Alpha Golf to hangars. So this is going to be Golf where we entered from, and let's ignore the traffic again. Seems too annoying. I'm going to keep these not bothersome, and it is entertaining enough when you're actually doing it. I'm just going to do this dozens and hundreds of hours. Screw that traffic. Keep it entertaining, like the concept of going to a gym and not doing much on the first day just to build a habit. If you just push yourself too much, have it be bothersome, kill yourself, then you're not going to want to go back. If you just go, do some exercises, get on a treadmill, lift a little bit, plug your phone in, says someone that I know. Just plug your phone in, screw around a little bit. And then it's an ambience you're not stressed out about being in. And you can build a habit of just going there. Or leaving a guitar on display. Leaving a guitar on display makes you kind of want to pick it up and just play it. You don't have to go through a whole process of opening a suitcase, popping it out, tuning it. It's just there, you can grab it, it's not bothersome, you'll get more hours of practicing. Let's go by the book here, let's follow the line. Remember, my brakes are set to a button, so there's no sensitivity. Otherwise you would not be getting this kind of movement, that movement. I've seen satellite images of this airport. It looks like there's a storm drain. We're ignoring traffic, there's no collisions anyway. There's a storm drain right around here. Yeah, it'd be to the right of this yellow line. If you're going to fly at a certain airport, you do want to do that kind of research. Check out the satellite images, the maps, the taxi especially, to not get confused, because sometimes the taxis just don't make sense. They're not even alphabetized, I'm betting, in some airports. Not in order, at least. You don't have Echo, Foxtrot, Golf next to each other. We're a little fast. Let's get to 1,000 RPM. Introduce those brakes. Follow that white line. And someone took our spot. What the hell? Let's just land it over here. Park it, I mean. And let's see here. Let's turn it over for the next guy. Usually you can just turn it off, and with a Cessna like this, you can kind of just push on the tail and kind of turn it manually by hand. They don't weigh much. Here we're going full rudder, introducing a little bit of brake to not deviate too much. And here we are. Ready for the next guy. Let's get the yoke off and get the parking brake on. Usually you would just be pressing on those pedals, but there's no way for me to do that with the button. Okay, so after landing checklist, let's turn it off by the book. Let's do 1,000 RPM. We're reducing. 1,000 RPM is check. Flaps are up, check. Lights are off. We want landing. Oh shit, these were off. You wanted the beacon on. There it is. And those on. So landing off, taxi off, navigation off, beacon stays on. We would have gotten some type of number for that. We wanted that beacon and the navigation on the whole time. Taxi landing, we wouldn't have gotten something severe like a pilot deviation. Maybe just a number for that. So that was bad. This is bad. It was supposed to be this way. And then upon landing, they stay on. And from here, lights off with beacon staying on. That would have been routine. So we would have gotten in trouble for that today. Let's see, lights off, radios off. Remember, we don't switch avionics and radios off immediately. We turn them off one by one. It looks something like this, holding off, display goes off. counterclockwise here, display goes off, and same here, counterclockwise. So all three displays are black, then avionics and radios are off. Now we want mixture off, and the avionics, or the radios and avionics, the displays were still on since something with the simulation doesn't turn them off, so I couldn't just go counterclockwise and have this go off eventually. So we just simulate it. We went off, counterclockwise, and avionics and radios off. So mixture off, magnetos off, then you pull the key, maybe leave it dangling here for the next guy. Beacon now off, not part of the lights. Master off, and field selector valve, in this case we leave on both. Instructions say off, but there is no off. We got left, right, both. And that is everything by the book except those lights. That was a huge mistake. We would have gotten in trouble for that. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed this, maybe learned from my mistakes, and hope to see you on the next one.